after the international break. And of course, what a better way to start, what a better way to get into it than to start with the North London derby where Arsenal are taking on Tottenham. Should I say new look Arsenal? Yes, they're top of the table, 1 point ahead of Manchester City and Tottenham, who both have 17 points. And of course, yes, I'm hearing that it's the end of that run for them today. But yeah, we'll talk about all of that and so much more today on World Sport right here on your Integrity Dial, Splash 105.5 FM. Allow me to welcome you on board the show today. My name is Blessing Fowowe. If you're a friend of ours on our Facebook platform, you can find us there. We are streaming. If you're not a friend, please go on Facebook, search for Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan, like our page, and of course, join our discussion where Arsenal are already live against Tottenham, and we'll be looking into that game as we discuss go into the show today. But not just about the North London derby and the North London derby as well. Something in Nigeria here where yesterday we ushered in a new leadership for the Nigerian Football Federation, and of course the questions for this new board will be what exactly are the visions that they have to promote football in Nigeria. I mean, the last administration, well, everyone has opinion about how that went and what legacies or not, as the case may be, that Amaju Pinnick left. We'll talk about that today on the show. Right here on World Sport on Splash 105.5 FM. And of course, we'll be having the phone lines on later on so you can call us as well so you can discuss. But I'm going to call the numbers now. 0809 155 1055. 08056 998678 0706 949 3000. Those are the numbers whereby you can reach us this afternoon on the show. And of course, we'll be taking the calls later on during the course of the show. But of course, I'm not here alone. Today, Tunde Adebayo, the coach. It's great to see you, Tunde. What's good?
Good afternoon, Blessing.
Donning a Brazilian jersey.
You don't have to announce that.
I mean, everyone who is streaming knows that already, so why shouldn't I announce it?
Let others go and stream to see.
My job here is to describe what's going on in the studio. While we also... It's part of my job.
Well, anyway, good afternoon, Ibadan. Great to be on the show. Like you said, we have the 36th FA chairman for the Nigerian football. You remember the first was in 1933 in person of Mr. Potters, but today, like you said, we'll be saddled with the responsibility of leading Nigerian football for the next 4 years. Maybe it will be like his predecessor Amaju Pinnick and get re-elected after the next 4 years. We wait to see, but again, a whole lot to talk about derbies across the Premier League. So it's an exciting show for us, and we hope that the fans will stay tuned to Splash 105.5.
Yes, indeed. I mean, everyone is probably at the viewing center or glued to the front of their TV sets catching the North London derby. But of course, we are here to help you enjoy the game as much as possible and also look into some of the other things that we have to discuss today. Also, joining us via the phone, Toba Ifalade is here. I mean, how can we talk about a Manchester derby and I don't get to bring Toba here? Toba, what's good? How are you doing?
Yeah, good afternoon, Blessing. Good afternoon, Tunde. Good afternoon to the entire city of Ibadan. It's such a lovely feeling being back on the program once again today. And on what, would pass for a real lovely day. We are in the city of Ilorin. It's actually bright and sunny here. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that London too is also bright and sunny. Although two clubs are trying to take ownership, that is. So that, let me call it the corner of London, that is not London, where, two big and eternal rivals are trying to battle it out for, bragging rights. Tomorrow is going to be the turn of Manchester United.
Yes.
But for the one going on here, I think I would have to deputize Tunde Adebayo and to ask him to help me keep tabs on Blessing's demeanor, like the way he's going to be reacting to everything that is going on out there.
I don't understand. How am I supposed to react, Toba? How am I supposed to be reacting? I'm calling a show. How am I supposed to be reacting?
Toba, it's too early. Toba, it's too early. It's too early.
If I say, it's going to be a soft spot for so and so. Blessing will say no. On certain days, I wear Barcelona jerseys. If I like, I wear Bayern Munich jersey. If I like, I can even don a Manchester United jersey. So to actually find out. That's why I'm going to details on the Adebayo.
Really?
Please help me. Yeah. The facial reactions of Blessing, our body language, everything as the game goes on. Help me record it, and when you're done, package it and
So this is what we are doing, right? Okay, don't worry.
Toba, it's too early.
I've got so much of my excuses as well, so we're going to get right into it. And for the records, you can actually see whatever facial expressions you want to see via our Facebook fan page. We're streaming live there, and you can find us there this afternoon. Welcome aboard to the show, World Sport, and it's going to be an exciting time out here. I have got Toba Ifalade on the line from Ilorin. Well, we talked about Ilorin being bright and sunny. Well, Oyo State, Ibadan is also bright and sunny, and we're happy to be here. And also, Tunde Adebayo is also here as well, live in the studio with us this afternoon. First off, Tunde, let's talk about derbies, in the history of derbies, or should I talk about Premier League derbies now? And not to generalize it, taking it beyond the Premier League. And the Premier League is home to some of the biggest world's biggest sporting rivalries, the local derbies. But which is the most exciting? Which is the most entertaining? Which one has the most drama? I mean, we could talk about the London derbies: Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, Tottenham as well. Yeah. There's Liverpool, Everton, Arsenal, Fulham. There's Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Manchester City, Manchester United. Which one has all of the dramas, everything packed into it?
Quite interesting question you've asked, Blessing. For the oldies, I'm sure Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester United will resonate with a lot of people. Manchester City, Manchester United is one that you will say, yes, a very, very interesting derby. But considering the dominance that City is beginning to have, again, in the last 5 meetings, to surprise you to know that United has actually gone to the Etihad and gotten victories more than 3 times in the last 10 meetings. So again, Manchester City, Manchester United, another one. But for me, the one that has got it all will be the Liverpool-Manchester United derby for me, because again, there was the knocking Liverpool off their peck thing for Sir Alex Ferguson, who actually made that derby very, very, very feisty for lovers of football, because again, he achieved that, became the most successful Premier League team, a league-winning team on the land before his time went out, and United seems to not to be able to find their mojo to continue that. So for me, I think yes, the Merseyside derby also, Liverpool-Everton, another very, very interesting one. We saw just a couple of weeks before the international break. He ended 0-0, but it was not devoid of any form of excitement. It was end-to-end football for us. So again, you can go all around, but I think the Liverpool-Manchester United derby should probably nick this in terms of the overall context of how big the derby is.
And of course, the history behind that kind of a game, and I certainly understand. Now, let's go into that London derby now. Talk about the team list. Arsenal made 2 changes from the side that won 3-0 at Brentford, with captain Martin Odegaard and Alexander Zinchenko returning from injury to replace Fabio Vieira and Kieran Tierney, who both dropped to the bench. So this is how Arsenal are looking like in the starting 11. Aaron Ramsdale is in goal. There's White, there's Thomas Partey, Gabriel Saka, there's Odegaard, Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, Saliba, Xhaka, and Zinchenko on the bench for the Arsenal. There's Turner, the goalkeeper, Matona. There's Tierney, Nketiah, Odin, Tomiyasu, Vieira, Lukonga, Nelson, and Marquinhos. And for Tottenham, Sonny Heung-min starts alongside Richarlison, and Dejan Kulusevski is missing out in that game after returning from international duty for Sweden with a hamstring problem. Emerson Royal and Christian Romero also returned to the starting lineup, as Davinson Sanchez and Ryan Sessegnon both dropped to the bench. So the 11 is looking like this. Loris is in goal. There's Højbjerg, there's Heung-min Son, there's Richarlison, Kane, Emerson, Perisic, Dia, Romero, Bentancur, Langley, and on the bench there's Foster, Doherty, Skip, Sanchez, Gil, Sessegnon, Spencer, and Bissouma. This bench, hey, I don't know where the action is going to be coming for Tottenham on the bench. But Toba, let's talk about Arsenal and the impact that Thomas Partey has on this team. Since he joined, Arsenal have won more games than they have lost in every game that he has played in. And every time he's not played, his impact, his absence has been sorely felt. And I think in January, they also tried to sign a backup for him. But I think it wasn't Douglas, is it Luis or Costa? I can't remember.
Luis,
yes,
from Aston Villa.
Aston Villa, which eventually didn't work. But let's talk about the impact this man, Thomas Partey, has in this Arsenal squad.
Yeah, I think I would take it back and, pin it around the excitement that surrounded, the possible sniff of his arrival back then when Arsenal was supposed to get him. I think his song was, the rave of the town around that time, and Arsenal fans latched onto the song because it kind of resonated. It was party after party, party after party. Yeah, that was how excited Arsenal fans were, to get a player of that quality. And ever since he has come in, when he has stayed fit, that is, Arsenal has had a controller. That is, the kind of player that every manager would dream of. That is, you have a central midfielder who could do it all, who could pass, who could, tackle, who could also cover so much ground that is on the pitch. Maybe shooting is leaving a little bit to be desired presently, but when he does get it right, it can also be a good weapon. But most of what you would want from a central midfielder, Partey has brought it into the Arsenal side. And like you rightly mentioned, every time he's out, the club or the team has sorely missed him. The only game Arsenal has lost so far this season was one in which, Thomas Partey was
against United.
Yeah, against Manchester United, when they had to bring in Sambi Lokonga to the sides. And Arsenal fans ended up blaming Lokonga, wow, that boy, he doesn't know how to play his position. He vacated so much space and gave United, the leverage to exploit us and all that. But Partey is back, he's around now, and let's see whether Arsenal will be having a party.
Let's see if Arsenal will be having the party indeed. And Tottenham, just while we're talking, they came very, very close to open the scoring there. But of course, Aaron Ramsdale, had a very good save, got a hand to the ball, and they were able to get themselves to safety. Just still early days in that game, and it's 2 goalless, no goal to report so far. That's from the Arsenal side. But I'm looking at the head-to-head here. Tottenham have only 2 of their past 37 league fixtures away to Arsenal. They've drawn 14 and lost 21, with those victories coming in 1993 and 2010. And only one of the 23 most recent top-flight meetings has been won by the away side, which is Arsenal's 1-0 victory at White Hart Lane in March 2014. And Arsenal have scored in 23 consecutive home league games against Spurs since that goalless draw at Highbury in November 1998. The stats here doesn't seem to go in their way, but having a man like Conte in charge, you can't rely on the stats, can you?
Excuse me. To make it interesting for you, if you look at Spurs' record away against the top 5 sides, say Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, and United, in the last 91 games, dating back to 2010-2011 season, they've only won, guess how many? 6 of those games. Tells you how terrible they've been on the road, and I think they've only scored about 27 or so goals. So that tells you that going to any of the big sides away from home is not something Spurs have excelled at in recent time. But interestingly, they went to Chelsea, which was the first top side they will be playing this season, and they were very, very poor. In fact, they are exciting proposition, but the Conte effect, like you said, they would love for you to have possession. In fact, they don't want you to have possession. Like I said, against Chelsea, they barely had the ball, just less than 40% possession. But again, they ran away with a point from Stamford Bridge. So I think this is the threat for Arsenal today. If Spurs can get into those transition mode, and guess what? Today they'll be facing 2 threats from Son and Richarlison, who are very, very effective on the break. Unlike when you have Kulusevski, who is more a creator than a goal threat. So it's an exciting proposition for everybody to look forward to in this game.
I'm really happy you talked about Song Heung-min. I'd like to talk about him and Richarlison and how the dynamics has been for them since Richarlison made the switch to Tottenham. But first of all, I need to go on a very quick commercial break. And when we return, we're still talking the North London derby where Arsenal at home against Tottenham. And guess what? It is 2 goalless in that game. When we return from this break, continue with this discussion, talking about the derby games. It's still What Sport. Keep it locked on Splash 105.5 FM.
Splash FM 105.5.
My people, better don't land. Make una come see ogbonge cable where them manufacture for Wiobodo, Nigeria. Now Pure-Chem Cables. Pure-Chem Cables na correct electrical cable where they reliable, dependable, and the people where they make them call, they safety conscious. Pure-Chem Cables get original copper and aluminium cable for different sizes them where you fit use for electrical wiring level for anywhere. Whether na your house, or in your office, the price uncle, no the tear pocket at all. Nationwide distribution don't start. For more information, call 0808 030 3257. 0808 030 3257. Piokem Cable and Wire Limited. They have print compound. 4 tickets 122/132. Oshodia Papa Expressway. Iyano Solo Bus Stop, Lagos. Piokem Cables. Nigerian Electrical Contractors endorser. SON approver. Piokem Cables. Na Yubico.
Have you heard about My Shout app? My Shout app is a new security app that serves as a tracker. My Shout app helps your family and friends to know if you're safe or in danger at any time. If you're in danger, open the app. Click on any of the 4 emergency buttons. For accident, press 1. Kidnapping, press 2. Robbery, press 3. To shout, press 4. Immediately you press any of these buttons, your friends and family will receive an alert of your emergency with the map of the location. My Shout app is easy to use and designed for everyone. The app works in real time as it updates users' location every 5 minutes. Give your family and friends peace of mind. Download My Shout app today on Play Store or on App Store for just $4.99, which is about 2,107 naira. To know how to set up your My Shout account, log on to www.myshout.net. My Shout app. Let your family and friends know you're safe. Download now.
Building on the successful completion of our first session with attendance testimony of our professional handling of the classes, we invite interested applicants to enroll for the next stream at the Splash FM Media Academy, an arm of the West Midlands Communications Limited. Our mandate to restore professional excellence in the broadcast industry is still on course, and that's why we invite you to hurry up and enroll now for full-time and part-time intensive practical lectures in presentation, journalism, programs and content development, basic production and digital media, presentation in Yoruba, and so on, leading to the award of Certificate of Proficiency in Broadcast Journalism. Course duration is 6 weeks of intensive practical classes plus interactive practical mentorship sessions with veterans and industrial placement. To register, visit the Splash FM Media Academy beside White House, Felele, Ibadan. For inquiries, call 070-543-93332 or 080-569-98676. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, we are at Splash FM Academy.
Àríkẹ́ ojú lè ṣe akọrẹ lọ báyìí.
Bọ̀dá wà sún ewé fúnmílẹ̀ òjé, alọ́jà òya.
Ọjà àyà bíi ti bó, ó túmọ̀ sí pé ọmọ lo mama ATM sọ̀bù ẹnu.
Bọ̀dá wà sí ìwé dákun, ewu tún ni mama ATM POS.
Mama ATM ní gbogbo ntajà tó ní sọ̀bù ń lò báyìí. Ìwọ wo sadé tó ní sọ̀bù nísàlẹ̀ ọjà lọ́hùn. Gbogbo gbala ń bára máa ń wo sọ̀bù rẹ̀ tọ́jà rẹ̀ sì ń yá kíákíá. Torí wípé ń lo mama ATM POS. Ìyẹn nìkan kọ́ àwọn ń bára tó bá tó ara nǹkan lẹ́yìn dòdò sọ̀bù rẹ̀ àtúmọ̀ ara research card. Eléyìí tó tẹ̀ jáde lórí mama ATM POS. Àwọn ń bára máa ń gbowó lórí mama ATM POS machine. Wọ́n á tún fi owó sórí ìdìkúdà DSTV, GoTV àti StarTime lọ́dọ̀ rẹ̀. Sọ ti wá mọ ìdí tí sọ́ọ̀bù sadé fi gba ìbúbọ̀ ládùúgbò báyìí tó sì jẹ́ pé kò sí mọ́wọ́ ní gbogbo ń bára rẹ̀. Ọ̀jẹ̀ yára tètè lọ gba mama ATM POS. Káwọn ń bára rẹ̀ mọ ìyá ń kẹ̀tíkẹ̀tí.
Ó ní ìṣèwà gba mama ATM POS machine.
Kàn sí mama ATM ní nàbà 6A Ọ̀lànìyàn Fagbemi Street off Mobile Bus Stop lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ for Real Event Center Ìyàgànkú GRA Ìbàdàn. Nílùú Èkó Suite 18 Aláùsá Shopping Mall Ìkẹjà 0809-950-0554. Mama ATM gba owó pẹ̀lú ìrọ̀rùn.
Splash FM 105.5.
Welcome back from that break. It is still War Sport right here on Splash 105.5 FM. Of course, we're leading you into the North London derby where Arsenal is taking on Tottenham. And guess what? Arsenal have their noses in front, courtesy of a belter from Thomas Partey. The man we talked about just before we went on that break about what sort of impact and influence he has in the Arsenal team. And he's the one who has gotten Arsenal in front, courtesy of an assist from Ben White. So Arsenal won, Tottenham 0, and it is 23 minutes gone so far in that game. Okay, guys, before we went on that break, Tunde, I said, okay, let me get to Toba now. Toba, I wanted to talk about Richarlison and Son Heung-min, especially coming from Son's his response to being dropped in the last match. I mean, dropped to the bench after a couple of games without, so much of impact, especially without contributing to the goals as well, to be dropped to the bench, coming off the bench and scoring a hat-trick in the space of 13 minutes. And, I mean, I think, in a way, it kind of shows what Richarlison brings to the team. For Richarlison to get into the team and also bench Son almost immediately. What do you make of that?
I think competition is good. That is when you have a team. You shouldn't allow your players to get complacent. You shouldn't allow them to, have the feel that, okay, whichever way, I'm still going to get in, even when they're not giving 100%. So I think the manager, bringing in someone like Richarlison to augment the attack. Richarlison brings a lot into the team, also tireless running, hard running. That's somebody who sacrifices a lot for the team. Someone who is willing to run himself into the ground. And, he's Brazilian also. So on his day, he brings the Brazilian flair into things also. So, but for Son, I think it's good competition. That is, most especially, he had been top scorer last season, shared the Golden Boot. But this season, teams weren't going in for him. It was more like he was unlucky.
Why is that? I mean, why is that? Why is that a player who came off a season of, I think it was joint top scorer? How is it that it's difficult for teams, or teams weren't coming for him? Big teams weren't coming for his signature. Why?
I think there's this thing about Tottenham that they're a little bit difficult to deal with if you're trying to get players.
Transfers.
You can even see Harry Kane, one of the best strikers in the Premier League for so long, and you don't have big teams coming around. When Man City eventually decided to come around last season, and they wanted a striker, they wanted, an arrowhead. That is, they did all they could, and the Tottenham chairman, that is Daniel Levy, just said, that's, you're not going to get him, and eventually he didn't get him. So if you're a team, you're going to be thinking that, okay, if I'm going to maybe place my transfer aspirations or base my transfer plans around a sports player, how am I sure that I'm going to be able to convince their chairman to let go of this player? So maybe that's what is happening to the likes of Kane and Son. That is, they are the team that gets into the Champions League every season, which is maybe one of those things that would spoil a player to demand that I want to leave. Maybe I want to go to a team that plays Champions League football. They get it. Then there's also a chairman who is proving to be notoriously difficult to deal with. That is in terms of trying to get players off him. So I think that may also, be keeping prospective suitors away from these players. But like we have said, the competition is good. Richarlison is in place now. There's Dejan Kulusevski, whom I'm a big fan of. And there's also Son also. Kane looks to be an assured star. So in that three-man attack, that is somebody who has to drop out. And I think it's going to be a rotation over the course of the season. Bringing in depth is good for the team overall. It's now left for the players to react in the proper way to this call by the manager.
Okay, what about the bench here, Tunde? Tottenham's bench. I said I wanted to talk about that earlier on. I'm looking at their bench. I was wondering, for someone like Conte, I thought he's going to do so much with squad in depth for a team like Tottenham, and seeing that they have a good starting 11, as the case may be. But this bench doesn't look so good. But who do you fancy coming off this bench to bring about a change, if need be, in this team for Tottenham?
Yeah, so look, I'll first start by explaining how Conte likes his squad. He's not a manager who loves to have a very large squad. He's been known to only want to manage about 25 to 26 players for a season. He did that with his time in Juventus, with Chelsea, even at Inter Milan. So maybe a few players who he can call off the bench. Toba explained what he has done in attack with the addition of Richarlison, Kulusevski. Kulusevski and Bentancur actually had joined the team earlier in January in the transfer window. But for the kind of team he's got, he loves to manage. You will see he has the perfect squad. Maybe not elite. He doesn't have so many elite players in their squad, but in terms of work rate, which is something Conte doesn't joke with. He demands hugely of his player a high work rate than you see with other clubs. I think he's got the kind of squad he loves to work with. Remember, the likes of Ndombele were discarded during the last transfer window. England's Harry Winks also was also discarded. So I think in terms of the kind of quality he loves to play with, I think the squad is right there. Now to your question around who can he bring in to help him. He's got Bissouma in the mid on the bench, who I think he might probably have to consider at this point because they are playing catch up to Arsenal in the midfield. It is all Arsenal in the middle of the park. I think the addition of Partey also is giving Arsenal a lot of skill in that midfield. So even those transition periods where you expect them to spring into life, there is that bus stop in that midfield. So they are not getting any joy. Maybe he might consider bringing in Bissouma to give them extra strength. Also out wide, the two fullbacks are not getting any joy at the moment. Emerson Royal looks like the weak link. The way Arsenal is playing, making good sweep back to that area. So maybe he might consider switching back Ivan Perisic back to the right side of defense and probably bring in Sessegnon on the left back. But other than that, bad thing they don't have Kulusevski on the bench, who is a huge effect in how they play. I mentioned earlier, he drops deep, give them an overload in midfield to curtail possession, to help them manage their defensive structure. He's not there today. Richarlison is not doing a lot of that. He seems to have his eye around breaking into attacking areas. That is leaving them short in midfield. So I won't be surprised if one of Richarlison or Son is sacrificed for an extra midfielder to give them that strength to retain. Again, an interesting thing is this. Remember I talked about their average possession being 49.5%. With that kind of ball possession, what you usually get is about 1 point per game. But currently Spurs have a 2.4 points per game run, which again tells you that they are very, very deadly in transition. So if they're able to stabilize a midfield, which like I said, I see Bissouma probably coming into this game at some point to give them that extra beef in midfield. But it's a very, very interesting game for us to watch today.
Okay, Tottenham have a penalty.
And it's 1-1 already.
Yes,
it's 1-1 already.
Yes, Harry Kane has taken it. The penalty is
just
scored.
My point.
And of course, he becomes the first player to score 100 Premier League away goals. With that goal that he has scored, he has 14 goals in 18 appearances against Arsenal in all competitions, and no other player has scored more than 10 goals in North London derby. Yeah. So Arsenal won, Tottenham won, and Thomas Partey with the first goal in the 20th minute, and now Harry Kane has equalized from the spot with the penalty, which he slotted into the middle of the net. So 1-1 there, 31 minutes gone in that game in the North London derby, the very first game of the day. We're going to put a lead on European football and Premier League football for a bit, come back home to Nigeria and talk about the election that we had yesterday into the board of the Nigerian Football Federation, where Alhaji Ibrahim Musa Gusau yesterday was elected the new president of the Nigerian Football Federation, succeeding Mr. Amaju Melvin Pinnick, who was in the role for 8 years. Now, until Friday afternoon, Gusau was chairman of Nigerian football and also chairman of the Zamfara State Football Association. He defeated barrister Sheyi Akinwumi, who until Friday afternoon was NFF's first vice president by polling 21 votes to Akinwumi's 12 in the first round. Now, Akinwumi, who is the chairman of Lagos State Football Association, announced his withdrawal just before the runoff was to take place, just as Malam Shehu Diko, who polled 6 votes, and Alhaji Abba Abdullahi Yola, who had 1 vote. However, former international goalkeeper Peter Said Ida, 1 vote in the first round, refused to step down, and he earned another 1 vote in the runoff as Gusau coasted home with 39 votes. So, in essence, all we are saying is we have a new president at the helms of affairs of Nigerian football, and his name is Ibrahim Musa Gusau, and yesterday he was elected as the new president. And of course, we had a lot of people, vying for the spot, from Amaze Uchegbulam to Musa Amadu to Yahaya Kwande. A lot of people vying for that post. And Chief Felix Anyaseagu, who is the long-term chairman of two-time CAF Champions League winners Eyimba, he swept to first vice president position by trashing Senator Obina Ogba, who is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Youth Development and Sports, by 23 votes to 8. Alhaji Yusuf Ahmed Fresh was unopposed for the position of chairman of chairmen, and just as Alhaji Sharif Rabiu Inua had an easy ride picking a slot from the Northwest without any opposition. We also had Right Honorable Margaret Ichen, who was elected from the North Central Zone, edging incumbent Alhaji Muhammad Al-Khali by 22 votes to 19 in the runoff, just as incumbent Babagana Kali and Newman Timothy Enman Magaji succeeded in the northeastern race. We had Right Honorable Essien Udofort and Miss Aisha Falode also with the 2 seats available from the South-South after an interesting run as well in their race. And for the Southeast zone, we had It was suspended on technicality, but Otumba Sunday Dele Ajayi made a return to the NFF board from the Southwest, just as Alhaji Ganiyu Majekodumi retained his seat there. Okay, so I'm calling names that are very, very familiar to Nigerian football, Toba, and I feel pretty much like we have just recycled yet again. Do you agree?
Yeah, I concur. If I have to do it maybe 100%, I would say you're spot on. We are recycling the same old ends, and I am not, particularly excited that maybe anything new is going to, be brought on board. I don't know how Nigerian football has also developed into this cabal-like structure, where it's, the same people within the same system that gets recirculated time and time again. Every time we think, okay, yeah, someone is going to come in with and bring in a breath of fresh air, all of a sudden it settles back into the same old pattern again. And where has this left us? It has left us with a steady depreciation in the quality of the football we have on the home front, a steady depreciation in the standard and the quality of our national teams also. Look at maybe the Super Eagles of Nigeria, second round at the last AFCON competition, knocked out of the World Cup. You look at our under-17 teams, they've not made the last under-17 World Cup. The under-20 team also didn't make it to the last under-17, the under-20 World Cup. The Olympic Eagles also didn't qualify for the Olympic Games also. So you take a look and say, and you feel that, okay, where's our freshness going to come from? You have names like Ahmed Fresh, whom I have known for so long to have been part of this board. Like, now, if you people keep insisting you want to be in the system, and the system is not improving, like, what are you actually telling us that you've achieved? What are you bringing to the table? Which new ideas or fresh ideas are you bringing? And unfortunately, that is those who want to come from the outside, most especially ex-internationals, they usually get very disappointed. Maybe because they don't understand that is the politics of football in Nigeria. Yeah, I remember when Chief Olusegun Adegbamitu was trying to become. It was still the NFA at that time. He was trying to become the NFA chairman, and he was failing at elections. And I was stunned that why do we have someone who looks like a very good administrator and is not able to get in? But I think eventually I got to understand how the politics of the whole football structure plays in Nigeria. And I've known that, okay, when our ex-internationals come in, it's either you blend in and become a part of the system, or you're not going to get in. So that's the way I have seen.
So basically, it's very difficult for an outsider here today to get into the NFF board.
So again, Toba was spot on with his analysis, but I think it's the way football has been structured globally. Ask yourself, if Infantino was what before he became the president of FIFA? So again, it was Michel Platini. So I think it's just the way football has been structured globally. A lot of people accuse football administrators of so much corruption and what's the word now? So I am not surprised. Nigeria is only taking a cue from what we are seeing from the global body. Is more or less a fraternity where only whoever they want to come into the fray is allowed to come in. To your point, Gusau is a civil servant, by the way. He worked with the Ministry of Finance in Zamfara. Yeah, and he was a member of, he's an executive member of Amaju Pinnick's led NFF, a member of AFCON organizing committee with CAF. So again, you can say no breath of fresh air is coming into our football, and not so much excitement for us. In fact, Peter Said-Ida was so bitter. He was going all along around allegations of corruption, dollars flying around. In fact, he was calling on the AFCC to come in and raid people's rooms. But again, you don't want to hear this kind of news coming from our football. But going into the elections, I wasn't so excited. But another thing we should also look out for is, remember, there's a court case. Yes, the NFF got an injunction for the elections to go on just a day or two before the elections. But the substantial case will still be listened to later this month, and you never can tell what would happen.
Does that mean the election might be cancelled somewhere?
I don't know. But they actually got an injunction for the election to go ahead. Yes, they got from an appeal court.
So Abiodun Falaye on Facebook is asking here. He says, what is the antecedent of the new NFF president?
He's a member of.
Okay, maybe can I come in?
Yeah, come in.
Yes, go on.
Yeah. I think I saw, certain things on social media where it was, reputed to have, or it was alleged that it was Amadio Melvin Pinnick that penned those words. And in those words, it was more like, okay, yeah, you see, this Guso person is my man. So I have succeeded in bringing him on board since I can't continue. So I think it was writing to international football bodies, basically CAF, that, yeah, you see, this person is my man. So whatever has been going down with me, you should pass it on to him. So basically, his antecedent is basically going to be a continuation of what we were seeing under Pinnick. He's a Pinnick man, he's an establishment person. So definitely he's going to go along and do things maybe the way we have been seeing with Pinnick House.
And Christian Chukwu, that's the former Super Eagles coach and captain, says that Nigerian football will suffer for further descent into ruins with the new board. He says y'all should get ready to suffer for another 4 years. Basically, that's what he's saying. I'm just going to take an excerpt from his words. He says, I don't expect anything different. People are still the same unless they amend the statutes and allow for more stakeholders. And that's what the group who took the case to court were all about. I mean, amend the rules, allow for more people to come in, expand the scope. And that's what he's asking, really.
But again, the truth is you have to look at the whole structure. And that's why I'm saying that the statutes of FIFA, now not just even Nigerian FA, but FIFA, there's a structure right from the FA, state FA to the national level. So again, it's very, very difficult for an outsider to break into that system unless they actually want you to get it. So I don't expect anything to come out from what's their name now, the football. I'm struggling to remember those guys.
Professional football.
Yeah. So again, I honestly don't see anything coming. And guess what? Where you have government trying to wade in to bring a bit of normalcy into it, the FIFA AMA will come in and say government interference into football. So I think it's, like I said, it looks more like a fraternity, and only who is in their ranks. Toba explained the fact that Gusau might be Pinnick's handpick. I will never dispute that, because again, it seems to be like whoever they want to get in gets the nod. So
Toba, I need you to set a goal for this new president, NFF president rather. Set a goal for him as a football-loving Nigerian. Like, what are those things that you'd expect for him to achieve, say, in his first 2 years of his tenure?
Yeah, maybe for me, I think it has to do with the NFF is basically the one responsible for our national teams. So I would be expecting that the Super Eagles would qualify for the AFCON, which they are trying to do presently. If they get to the AFCON, we would also be expecting that, Nigeria should be winning at least, we should be doing very well at the AFCON. So we should be talking about, winning the AFCON in the next 2 years. We also, I think the under-17 and the under-20 team are presently, preparing, that is for their own African version of the under-17 and the under-20 championships. So we would be expecting that they also go out there and qualify for the World Cup. That's where the talent pool for the Super Eagles is going to be coming from. So whenever we miss certain editions, that is like, it's almost like, okay, we're missing a generation of talent that is supposed to come through. So it's also very important that the under-17 and the under-20 team get to qualify for the World Cup. The Chan Super Eagles missed out on qualifying for the Chan tournament, which is going to be coming up, soonest. We would also be looking at, the quality of our local game. Although maybe that is not expressly domiciled with the NFF now, but there is a way they can also come in with their input and try to improve what we're having on the local scene. Our clubs have been paired against North African teams now, and I'm not holding my breath. I actually have written all of them off. That's they're going to get knocked out. Yeah. That is in the next round. So the local scene also has to be, taken care of. Nigerian football is not giving us encouraging vibes at present. So if this Newman is going to come in and impress us. Maybe some of the areas I've highlighted here, including our female team, which is beginning to drop from being the top dogs in Africa into, we're beginning to look like second best to South Africa. We're beginning to look not even better than Zambia at this point in time. So the female football side of things will also have to be given enough attention also. It's not just about, trying to get players from various leagues from all over the world to come and play. What about local games?
Say you did. You want
Don't shout. Press 4. Instant you sum any of this button, your family people plus friends go receive message say you dey emergency. Plus the map of the location where you dey. My Shout app dey very easy. Plus say na everybody fit use am. Now every 5 minutes the app go dey update your location. Make you give your family people peace of mind. Or you go download My Shout app for Play Store. Abi for App Store na $4.99. Mere wey be 2,107 naira. If you want sabi how to set up your My Shout app account, log on to www.myshout.net. My Shout app. Make your family people plus friends know say you dey safe. Go download am now.
Canada needs immigration to massively drive our economy and help fill the huge labor shortages. The government of Canada is determined to attract more than 1.2 million families and individuals to relocate between 2021 and end of 2023. This is unprecedented. The government of Canada will allow only those who will be employable to get the permanent visa. Jonathan King Limited will assist professionals, graduates, and artisans in various fields and trades to go to Canada and prosper. Education in Canada is not just one of the best in the world, it is one of the cheapest. Jonathan King Limited will help students secure full-time graduate and postgraduate admissions to tertiary institutions. Full-time students are allowed to work in Canada. There are also opportunities for scholarships, grants, or at least interest-free loans. Pick up a registration form immediately at Jonathan King Limited, first and 6th floors, Cocoa House, Ibadan, and the Bronx Bookshop, former CMS, besides Our Saviour's Cathedral, Ijebu-Ode.
Registration ends 18th of October, 2022.
Need to see the best performance?
Thank you.
In person?
With almost 100,000 Instagram followers and over 100,000 followers on Twitter. Wow! And more than 250,000 followers on Facebook. Our followers are our greatest assets. Join our social media family for breaking news, daily information, and giveaways. On Instagram and Twitter at Splash FM 1055. On Facebook at www.facebook.com/Splash FM 105.5.
Hey, bro Harrison, Sherry, mo like kíní e-commerce website tẹ́ bá mi ṣe yẹn o. Àmọ́ tí àwọn oníbàárà mi bá ti ra ọjà lọ́wọ́ mi, máa ṣe máa wá ọlọ́kadà tá a gbé lọ ni. Tó sì jẹ́ wípé wọ́n máa ń já mi kulẹ̀ ní ọ̀pọ̀ ìgbà. Owó gọbọi ni màá tún san. Ọ̀rẹ́ mi kan sì fi yé mi wípé ọ̀nà àbáyọ kíákíá wà fún mi. Ó ní Quick ní orúkọ wọn.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, Quick ni wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀. Wọ́n jẹ́ ògbóǹtarìgì nínú kábánifin nǹkan ṣọwọ́ síbikíbi. Ìbá jẹ́ olókoòwò kéékèèké, iléeṣẹ́ aládàáni, tàbí ìwọ tó ń tajà lórí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára, ìyẹn e-commerce operators. Quick á mójútó ohunkóhun tẹ́ ẹ bá fi rán wọn. Wọ́n sì tọ́jú rẹ̀ sí àpò tí yóò dáàbò bò. Pabambari ibẹ̀ ni wípé ẹ lè fi nǹkan ránṣẹ́ lówó tí kò ga jara lọ. Ẹ sì lè rán wọn láti bá yín gba owó ọjà yín. Ẹ sì tún láǹfààní láti tíráàkì ọjà yín. Gbogbo èyí láàrin 60 ìṣẹ́jú péré, 60 minutes. Ó sì lè má tó bẹ́ẹ̀.
Ó mà dára púpọ̀ o. Mo gbọ́dọ̀ fi tóbi sí létí.
Ẹ ṣáà ti sọ fún kó download app wọn Quick KWIK lórí Google Play Store tàbí Apple App Store kí ó sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń fi ọjà ránṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú ìrọ̀rùn. Quick Delivery, ojúlówó oníṣẹ́ ìránṣẹ́ tó yára tó sì ní ààbò fún ọjà rẹ.
Àríkẹ́ ojú rẹ̀ ṣe akọrẹ lọ báyìí.
Bọ̀dá wà sún ewé fún mi lè oje, alọ́jà òya.
Ọjà àyà bíi ti bó, ó túmọ̀ sí pé ọmọ lo mama ATM sọ̀bù ẹnu.
Bọ̀dá wà sí ìwé dákun, ewu tún ni mama ATM POS.
Mama ATM ní gbogbo ntajà tó ní sọ̀bù ń lò báyìí. Ìwọ wo sadé tó ní sọ̀bù nísàlẹ̀ ọjà lọ́hùn. Gbogbo gbala ń bára máa ń wo sọ̀bù rẹ̀ tọ́jà rẹ̀ sì ń yán kíákíá. Torí wípé ń lo mama ATM POS. Ìyẹn nìkan kọ́, àwọn ń bára tó bá tó ara nǹkan lẹ́yìn dòdò sọ̀bù rẹ̀ àtúmọ̀ ara research card. Eléyìí tó tẹ̀ jáde lórí mama ATM POS. Àwọn ń bára máa ń gbowó lórí mama ATM POS.
We have just started this league. For sure, Arsenal had a fantastic start. They lost only one game against United, and then they are showing to be a really good team. I think that in the summer they made a good sign for them and improved the team.
Well, first of all, thank you, and hopefully we are, but the next few months will unveil that, but we want to get better than what we are today as well.
Graham Potter's Chelsea play Crystal Palace. It will be Potter's first Premier League game in charge of his new club, while his replacement, the Italian Roberto De Zerbi, starts his tenure at the Seagulls with a trip to Anfield to face Liverpool. Everton secured their first win of the season before the international break, beating West Ham 1-0 at Goodison Park. The England striker Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't played for the Toffees yet this season after sustaining a knee injury just days before the opening round of fixtures. But boss Frank Lampard has suggested that he is close to a return and could feature in the squad for Saturday's trip to Southampton.
All you can ask for is that players keep doing the right things to get themselves in the best condition, whether it's rehabbing or when they get back to on pitch, they work around that. And then our responsibility as staff is to work with them and find the best way. With a player that's had a few of those injuries, so we're always searching for the best way to get Dominic fit and keep him fit, because we know the level of player he's shown that here previously.
Elsewhere on Saturday, Bournemouth play Brentford, Fulham take on Newcastle United and West Ham United host Wolves. And for more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Okay, we are back. It is 2 War Sport right here on Splash 105.5 FM. Halftime already in the North London derby. Arsenal 1, Tottenham 1. Thomas Partey and Harry Kane from the Sports. That's how things stand right there for Arsenal and Tottenham. Well, we have to move on the show. It's still the Independence Day edition of World Sport here. Happy Independence Day to Nigeria and Nigerians, and of course every one of us we're celebrating. And the numbers to call: 0809 155 1055, 0805 699 8678, 0706 949 3000. Hello, who is on the line? Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. What's your name, sir?
My name is S.B. Abodun from Mapete.
Welcome to the show, sir. Let's go.
My prayer is that we are not going to witness another downturn in our football. This new Guso.
Amen.
Because the man is from Amadou Phoenix camp. So, and we saw what happened. When Amadou Phoenix was there, we saw coaches telling us that one of the finest coaches, he came. And when he was told how much he will be receiving and how much will be on paper and how much will be given to him, he left. So we are all these sharp practices. If it continues, you know, one of our major problems in Nigerian football is the administrative sector. We find it very, very difficult to handle things the way they should be handled. Look at FIFA giving us money, and instead of paying those who actually prosecuted something, you went and started building stadium in a non-catchment area. I think in Katsina or somewhere. Instead of paying the boys and the girls. So all these sharp practices, I don't know how they are going to stop it, because administration has been our headache in football. One of the biggest headaches we have. And the same thing is going to continue under this man. I'm not cursing us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for calling. Okay, 0809 155 1055, 0805 699 8678, 0706 949 3000. What do you make of the new president of the Nigerian Football Federation? We have a new president, the new board actually. What do you make of those who are coming on board now to join up with the team? In the meantime, let's get back to the games. There's still halftime there in North London derby, and after at 3 p.m. there are some other games coming up in the Premier League. Bournemouth at home to Brentford, and Crystal Palace welcoming Chelsea. It is Graham Potter's first Premier League game as Chelsea boss, and he's been asked a lot of questions. It was fielding questions from pressmen yesterday, and one of those was asked about picking his team for the first Premier League game with the club, and of course he says it is part of the challenge. I'm going to take a moment to listen to Graham Potter. But before that, Toba, how do you reckon Potter will line up in his first Premier League game?
For a manager who has only had one game, that is the game against in the Champions League where they came away with a draw, I think he will be trying to take an impression this time around that he's had time to train with the players who were not away on international assignments. He must have also had time to sit down and have what would be a clear mental picture of how he wants the team to play. The the good thing is that he's actually coming into a system, or the players are going to be having a system with him that they are already familiar with. That is, his Brighton team played with 3 at the back, wing backs, and then, 3 forwards also. So basically, I think Potter is still going to go with his typical 3-4-3 formation. That is, you have, the 3 centre backs, you have 2 players out wide. People would say Chilwell should get in ahead of Cucurella, but Cucurella is a player whom he is familiar with. He was the one that coached him or brought him to England, coached him at Brighton. So most likely he will still decide to stick with Cucurella. Then I think James should actually be the right wing back. In attack, that is, Kai Havertz is still Raheem Sterling. And then we would see who would be the third member of the triumvirate in attack. So that's the one I'm still a little bit, not sure of how he would decide to go.
But just to cut in, Toba, if you remember the game against Red Bull Salzburg, he made a very, very interesting tweak to that game. He played only Thiago Silva as the only out-and-out centre-back in that back three, playing Cucurella as the other supposed centre-back in that back three, then playing Raheem Sterling as... and a wing back, but inverted wing back. So he's not staying out deep, out on the flank, making incursions into the box. So I think that was an interesting tweak.
He was trying to do something similar at Brighton before he left. He was putting Trossard.
Yeah, in fact, he played Trossard from that role also. And for me, the defensive stability is my worry. Can you do that in the Premier League, considering the intensity of that league? In the Champions League, we saw Red Bull Salzburg exploiting that severally, especially using that as their outlet in attack. A long balls into that third half. Bring hold up play, invite other runners into that area. So that's one. Then again, it looks more of a 3-5-2
kind of manager.
Yes, than a 3-4-3 for me. Yes. So let's wait. It will be very, very interesting to see how you line up today.
Okay, now listen to him. He says it is part of the challenge. It is what it is. This is Graham Potter.
Well, it's just part of the job. It's part of the challenge. It is what it is. We can do some, thinking while they're away, and you can do some analysis, and you can watch games. But in the end, you've got to start somewhere. We've got a lot of games to come. It's obviously well documented the amount of games we have, which is great because you can see all the players. There'll be lots of competition. Everybody's ready. The group are looking forward to playing. So it's never easy picking a team because you've always got good players and good options, but we can deal with that.
Okay, we'll get to find out how he gets to deal with that at 3 p.m. when Chelsea take on Crystal Palace there in their game just after the North London derby is done. And there are reports that Chelsea have attempted to secure an advantage in the race to sign Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig by arranging for the striker to undergo medical test ahead of a proposed move. Now, that's according to reports, is that Nkunku is attracting interest from several top clubs, including Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Bayern Munich. And Chelsea here are trying to position themselves in such a way that they'll be front runners, saying that they've had private tests. But sources close to Nkunku have said that no agreement has been reached with Chelsea or any other club, and that any medical checks were routine for all players at the club. And I'm warning, medical checks right when the season is on.
Yeah. So again, I think
a smart one.
The news was broke out. ESPN broke the news to us to say he has actually had medicals just to place Chelsea ahead of every other club. Also, there are links to Lukaku and Graham Potter having to have a sit down to have a conversation around his future. Remember, he's only on a 1-year loan with Inter Milan, so possibility of bringing him back. But again, it makes sense. Nkunku is one who loves to run the channel, so maybe if you bring back a big man in Lukaku, and but he's going to however he plays out, Nkunku is going to cost a lot of money. There are conversations around 100 million euros already been mentioned as the price for that transaction. We wait to see what will happen in the January transfer window.
100 million. I hope it's worth that price. Anyway, let's move on to the Manchester derby, which will be coming up later tomorrow. Yes, the Manchester derby comes up tomorrow. It is Erik ten Hag's first Manchester derby. He won the September Manager of the Month. Rashford also Player of the Month. That's the second in his career. But at a press conference yesterday, Erik ten Hag was asked about his experience on facing Manchester derby in his first Manchester derby, rather, as a Manchester United, manager. And he said, and I quote, I play many derbies. I know what derbies are. It is the most important games for the fans, and of course, it excites me. Listen to the man.
I play many derbies in England, and I know what derbies, what they are, what rivals, what they are doing with each other. And I think, and I know it's the most important game here in Manchester area for the fans. And it excites me. You want to be involved in such games. It gives such a good vibe. It gives so much energy, and you do everything to win that game. Clear.
So much fight, so much energy, everything you have to do to win the game. The words of Graham Potter there. And, Toba, let's talk about how things have turned around for Erik ten Hag since that humiliating defeat to Brentford. And, they've gone on a streak of victories, about 6 games. They won all games in September, if I'm not mistaken, and which eventually won Ten Hag the Manager of the Month and, of course, Rashford Player of the Month. But at what point do you think things changed totally for United here?
I think after the 4-0 drubbing by Brentford, I think the manager understood the scale of the task that he was facing. That is, tune-up games, that is friendly matches, pre-season games would give you an idea of maybe where your team is at the level of fitness, but it's not going. For now, Manchester United has been very functional. They've been very efficient. That is after those 2 defeats. Now let's see whether he can keep the run going. And there will be no standard test of whatever metal the team is made of presently, other than when you go up against
big teams. Indeed. And speaking of going up against big teams, Sunday, he has to play a certain Erling Haaland, who, of course, this man came into the Premier League and, he's been acting like he's been here forever. Yeah. pretty much understands the game, positioning very well, can score with both feet, whatever situation he finds himself. How do you expect him to prepare against Erling Haaland?
I think if there's any advantage for Erik ten Hag going into this game is the fact that he has done this before with his Ajax setup and with a key member of that defense being Lisandro Martinez in the game against Borussia Dortmund last season in the UEFA Champions League, where they were able to successfully keep Haaland quiet in that game. He didn't get a goal, and there were clips of Erik ten Hag and Lisandro Martinez high-fiving themselves in the dugout around how their tactics to nullify Haaland worked in that game. Maybe they might probably need to go back to that recipe that they used in that game. But the difference here will be amount of service Haaland is getting with the Manchester City side. When you have Kevin De Bruyne playing behind you, you have De Bruyne, and again, City has made a good switch from sticking out their attacking three to making them narrow. In fact, is opting to favor more of inverted wingers in Phil Foden and Grealish in that wide role in the three in attack, which helps them narrow their position and create very, very well in that area. But the good thing is, for me, I think ten Hag will be crossed around two things. One, should I stick with what is working? Eriksen and McTominay sitting in that double pivot in front of United's back four, which looks very, very good, especially in transition, but they look very, very susceptible in defending, and Eriksen is not one with that level of busting tackles. So maybe you might see Casemiro coming in to partner McTominay. It's one decision I think Erik ten Hag will need to make up his mind around. Do I stick with what is working in Eriksen and McTominay, or bring a better screen in terms of the defensive shape of the game? But I think he's a manager who loves to play in transition. Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes seems to be getting into a good rhythm in that connecting play into the attack. So it's very, very interesting for me. And another key decision for Erik ten Hag is who starts in attack. Now that Martial seems to be back, he has trained all week from listening to him at the press conference yesterday. Rashford deputized for him in that role. I don't see Ronaldo starting because Ronaldo is not... Toba explained the switch. Now United have the lowest defensive block in the league. They sit very, very deep to their goal, covering De Gea's deficiency in coming off his land, playing the ball with his feet. So they will sit very, very deep in midfield and expect them to kick forward like they did against especially Liverpool. So they need that centre forward who can retain possession and bring in Anthony and Sancho on the flank. Martial looks best in that role because he's very, very comfortable on the ball. Rashford did a good job, I must say. You saw the assist for Anthony against Arsenal. So that also will also be a key part because expect City to press them. I don't expect United to play out from the back in this game. Expect for them to see every goal kick, every start-up play going long and retaining possession in City's half. So it's a very, very tricky one. But if there's any team with the confidence and the excitement to keep Haaland in check, I think this United side probably have that. Because
they have that inside of them.
Yes, and it will make a very good test for the partnership between Martinez and Varane, which is looking very, very solid at the moment.
A start. Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering if Casemiro will be starting that game anyway. But a quick update from the Arsenal stadium there. That's North London derby. Arsenal lead 2-1. Gabriel Jesus got the goal into the back of the net after Hugo Lloris fumbled a shot and then lack of communication with the defender as well. And of course, Gabriel Jesus has lifted Arsenal ahead. Arsenal lead 2-1 in that game, and that's in the North London derby. 56 minutes gone already, and that is how things stand at the moment. Toba, is there an underdog going into the Manchester derby? I know you wouldn't expect that. So is there an underdog?
Yeah, I think the rules...
Please don't tell me Man U. Don't tell me Man U are the underdogs.
Yeah, Manchester United are the underdogs.
Toba, you should know where that is coming from now.
2013, they've not won the league since 2013.
So, is it by winning the league or not? United are informed.
Toba, you know where this is coming from already.
You could be informed, but basically, when you go up against a side that is, rated more highly than you are, then at that point in time, you still go into the game as the underdog. So going into this game, Manchester United are the underdogs. Last season, they took, home and away thrashings from Manchester City. 2-0 at Old Trafford, 4-1 at the Etihad. So it's not been good of recent for Manchester United. They have to go into this particular derby and try to show that they are still competitive. So for me, Manchester United are the underdogs going into this.
So let's call this game, Toba. What's your scoreline?
This one is actually a tough one to pin me down. There's what reality is suggesting and there's what my head is telling me.
So which one should we go to?
Let me pick a draw.
A draw.
It's going to be a draw, like a 1-1 draw.
A 1-0 draw. Okay. So Tunde, call this game.
I think it's a 2-1 victory for Manchester United. City 1, United 2.
City 1. United 2.
Yes.
Okay, that's a bold call. Okay, that's Toba and Tunde's prediction. They're calling the game, and of course, trust me, I'll be calling them out on Monday if this doesn't pan out eventually. Let's move on the show. Keeping an eye on what's going on in the North London Derby in the French Ligue 1. Marseille cruised to the top of the Ligue 1 yesterday as they opened the weekend fixtures by winning 3-0 at Angers to help to leapfrog Paris Saint-Germain, who will be in action later today against Nice, and they'll also be having Strasbourg against Rennes as well. And later tomorrow, Lorient at home to Lille. Ajaccio is against Clermont. Also be having Montpellier going away to Toulouse and Monaco against Nantes. That's just some games from the French Ligue 1 tomorrow. And in the German Bundesliga, a masterclass from Jamal Musiala, as well as the first goal in 5 games for Sadio Mane, helped Bayern Munich trump Bayer Leverkusen 4-0 at home on Friday. Who would have thought that Bayern Munich would be struggling at this stage of the season?
Nobody saw that coming. They've enjoyed a very, very healthy lead in the league from yes, but they've won the last 10 Bundesliga titles. So coming into this season, but again, and it's funny, considering the fact that they were doing so well in the continent, in the Champions League. We saw the victory against Barcelona, though a lot of people will tell you Barcelona were the better side in that game, but they ran away with the full 3 points and also ending the game with a clean slate in that game. But in the league, they've struggled. But again, if you look at the margins of their struggle, they just seem to be in that moment of not I don't want to say not giving it their all, but that level of confidence, like we've got this, we can do this, but going 4 games without a win, a couple of draws, a loss, I think the reality dawned on them. And yesterday what we saw was Bayern Munich coming out firing on all cylinders, and they got 4 good goals in that game to reclaim their very strong position in that league. So I think normalcy has been restored back.
Just one game. How can you be so certain normalcy has returned? Just Bayern, one game.
Blessing, do you actually think they will go without victory? Do you actually think this will go on?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I agree. It's probably not going to go on for long. But the thing is, just one game until they.
Would you bet against them winning the league?
Okay, no, I won't.
Exactly. So that's why I said normalcy has returned, and you expect them to just.
Anyways,
continue that
we'll get to see how consistent this will be for them. And to other games in the German Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt are at home to Union Berlin. Dortmund are going away to FC Köln. Freiburg against Mainz 05. Wolfsburg against Stuttgart, and Werder Bremen at home to Borussia Mönchengladbach. And in the Spanish La Liga, Barcelona coach Xavi Hernandez says he would like international fixtures to be played in one block each year after 4 players returned injured following games with their countries this past week. Toba, basically, I'm thinking here, maybe we're going to set aside a whole month for international break. Won't that be breaking the flow of some of these clubs if that happens?
You see, making international football and club football, making them cohabit is something that is, a bit of a sticking point in football. That is because managers and the club, they have their obligations to the club. They have, a certain kind of health demand on the players, like, okay, you should be healthy, you should be fit. And when they go away on international duty, I'm not able to keep an eye on you. At international level too. Yeah, people want to see their players. Like Poland, they don't have a fantastic league or a big league like that, but they have one of the best players in world football. That is Robert Lewandowski. They want to see him come in and don the polished jersey so that they could cheer for him. For me, I am still conflicted also on how club football and international football should manage each other. UEFA tried to devise, a solution with the UEFA Nations League. For me, I'm still a little bit, skeptical about, European teams just play against European teams all the time. They don't get a feel of, football from other continents. You get to play against Ghana, maybe England play against Nigeria and the rest of them. It's not happening. But so far, Javi has made his observation. I don't think FIFA or any of the other confederations, that is, you talk about UEFA, you talk about CAF, you talk about CONMEBOL, whether they will be at home with such a suggestion. I don't think they will.
But one of the things he says is also that, there are plans to make the World Cup a 2-year event. That means that you should also be thinking about having, maybe a month or 2 months solely for international football, and then you return to, club football games. What to see?
For me,
yeah.
I don't subscribe to the idea of making the World Cup a biennial event. It is going to water down the value of the competition. Then basically that would also mean we may also have to be scrapping the continental competitions of each confederation. Because basically, what's the use of having an AFCON every 2 years when you can have the World Cup every 2 years also? So for me, I don't subscribe to the idea of making the World Cup a biennial event. That's not what I want to see, and I don't think it is a suggestion or a proposal that will eventually come to fruition.
Yeah. Okay, update from the North London derby. There's a red card. Now this is looking like a proper derby. And Tottenham's Emerson Royal has been sent off for a very rough tackle on Gabriel Martinelli there for Arsenal. So Tottenham reduced to 10 man, and still Arsenal 2 goes to 1.
Yeah, not just. I'm surprised Emerson Royal, Conte kept him this long in the game. I talked about how he's been struggling in the first half to get into rhythm. The overload on that side of the pitch from Arsenal, Zinchenko, Granit Xhaka, Martinelli, also Gabriel Jesus, causing a lot of overload. It's been very, very difficult for him to cope. And I was surprised he didn't switch and bring the experience of Perisic to help calm that side of their defending. So I think it was a very, very reckless tackle, needless tackle. One must also add, but again, advantage Arsenal, you will say.
I agree, it was needless. And in Italian Serie A, we have Inter Milan against AS Roma today at 5 p.m. Napoli against Torino, and AC Milan are going away to Empoli. That's just some of the fixtures there this weekend in the Italian Serie A. We need to move on really quickly. The FIBA Women's World Cup, it came to an end, and guess who won? No prizes for guessing today. United States women's basketball team, really. They've won a record-extending 11th women's basketball World Cup title with an 83-61 victory over China in Sydney. And the Las Vegas Aces, Aja Wilson top scored for the defending champions with 19 points, while Casey Plum added 17. Now, Aja Wilson, by the way, is the reigning MVP of the women's, that's the WNBA. I mean, she won the league with the Las Vegas Aces, and also won Defender of the Year. Yes, if I'm not the Defensive Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, talk about a squad that always bully opponents into submission. Toba.
Yeah, it's just like in the men's game also, where we have the NBA being the dominant or the biggest that is basketball competition that is on the globe. You also have the WNBA, which also serves the same purpose. The Americans invented the game. I think that was something we learned in PhD way back in junior class.
Yeah.
Let me try to exercise myself. If I miss it, please, you people should But was it not John Naismith who was touted to as
Naismith? Absolutely, you're correct. You're correct.
Okay, yeah. So that means I've not yet become an Olodo. Yeah. But so that means the Americans have the edge. They have the advantage. And coming into the global or into the modern era also, where the game revolves around, how much money they're able to pump into it for equipment, for tactical innovation, then for bringing the best talent to come compete for you. If you check that American team, you may find maybe one or two Nigerian names also. You may find names from, maybe Serbia. You might find a name. So they bring, a conglomeration of talent from all over the globe. They're able to naturalize them. They become Americans. They get to play for the American team.
Basketball.
And when you're able to do that, you have that much money to put into the game for organization. Then if you win, I don't think anybody should grudge you. I think that's the angle from which
developed so much to get to that position. Absolutely, I agree.
They've actually invested a lot. And then, it's their game. It's, the game that every young person growing up in America would feel like, oh, I want to ball. I want to ball. There are, basketball parks scattered all over the country. So a young person could actually, just find kicks, find sneakers or basketball shoes, get yourself a basketball top and you go there, you play. Scouts are all over also trying to, scan for talent. You can actually get into college on scholarship because you have basketball talent. Then you get top coaching at that level also. Before maybe you get fast-tracked into the NBA. They also scout for talent globally also, where they're able to bring in people who would, enhance the quality of their game at all. So when they go out there and they get a win, we should expect.
It's not surprising at all. Okay, that's I absolutely agree. And the African representative at the FIBA World Cup, Mali, I mean, it was such a disappointing, outing for me. And it wasn't just about them losing games. It was the show of shame where they threw fists, basically, and it was right in front of a camera at the mixed zone. I mean, it's so disappointing. And like I said on the, was it Tuesday? They never really deserved to be at the World Cup, if not for, what happened with Nigeria. They, honestly, in my opinion, didn't deserve to be at the World Cup. I hope that next edition of the World Cup will be a lot better for African representative. A quick trip to North London. There's an update from there. Arsenal lead 3-1. Granit Xhaka with his left foot has put Arsenal, added the third goal for Arsenal, really. And of course, that came after the red card to Emerson, needless red card to Emerson Royale there. So Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1, and it looks like they are cruising. But Tottenham also getting ready to make multiple changes here. And once that is done, before we leave the show, we'll talk about that real quick. But the freedom, before we leave, time is not a friend. We have to leave about Tony Rada. But the freedom Xhaka has had this season, going forward, getting into the box.
I talked about this earlier in my analysis. He's starting from the midfield as part of the double pivot, but he has that freedom to join in the attack because there's a certain Zinchenko who will come into that position and help provide that screen for the back four. That freedom, exactly what he does with the Switzerland national team. He's gotten the second goal already in for the season, 3 assists to his name. And guess what? Last season, I think he had just an assist and probably 1 or 2 goals. So he's looking like Arteta has finally found the best way to deploy Granit Xhaka in this team. And I think Arsenal is stronger for this.
What happens if Xhaka is injured?
They have a certain Vieira in that team who I think might also strive in that
double pivot role. Are you sure?
So the trick is he starts from that double pivot, but he's not required to play. Most of his plays is not from that double pivot role. So he's more or less a dummy, that extra body making that blind run into that third half of the opposition. Again, you are not sticking a man on him because his starting position is from a deeper role. So is only against the run of play that you start seeing all the, and this goal typically explains that what I'm explaining. It was a blind run into that space. It was free and no marker was on him. So I think Vieira honestly can stick in, or maybe Smith Rowe can also stick into that role.
Maybe Smith Rowe, but I think I would see Vieira playing in the other guard position.
So again, he came out to say that's the best role for him, but there are a lot of people saying he's got good passing range and distribution for him to also stick out in that role. He looks a little bit light in size, but you never can tell.
Okay, we have to leave. Vosclev says we have to leave the show. Of course, I'm very sure he's enjoying the Arsenal victory.
He's a very happy man.
I mean, very happy man. We can tell from his face, but we have to leave. We have to leave the show. Thank you very much, Toba. Thank you for being a part of the show this afternoon. It's great to have you here.
It's been a pleasure, Blessing, and Tunde, and to the whole of Ibadan. It's been a pleasure.
Don't worry, there are no facial expressions to send to you, Toba.
No, Tunde has a compilation.
Toba, you can trust that.
All right, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Feel the happiness and blessings.
Bye. Thank you very much for being a part of us. We'll be back here next Saturday, same time. My name is Blessing Fowowe. Au revoir.
Here is
105.5.
Accessing
105.6.
one station, all the hits.
105.5. Splash.
Okay, eyes open. Everything's perfect right now. Kofi here. My name is Lafop, the proper goer of the comedians of the Federal Republic.
No. How many times you want me to tell you say no? That's what the thing disappear.
Hi, my name is Peteru, and you're listening to Strictly Comedy. I want power, no flag. You know, I don't go much jubilate. I want bar offside in this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, firstborn in the building, right here.
Yeah, all these people don't go kill me. That's why I go down there and they laugh seriously. Talk about that, you don't go wood person. When you're on Strictly Comedy, you know, say the group, na everlasting. As I say, so that shit, you there, so more than just Strictly Comedy, we talk about it. Yeah.
Gentlemen, I'm back. Strictly Comedy right here on Splash 105.5 FM. My name, Temitope Fadeyi, a.k.a. Are You The One? Alagbe Jamo Mayo Mopapa Obadore KKK. Kodun Kopo Kope Jabrata T. John.